All right, fellow PlayStation fans, the frames are now being counted. I suggest that you inform yourself quickly and, in a sense, make your moves accordingly before the full wrath of the analysis comes into play, because eventually you're going to see those hyper fans that were, in a sense, overhyping the PlayStation 5 Pro eventually start to get egg on their faces. Now, as a fellow PlayStation fan, I've said before that if the PS5 could deliver this so-called 4070, I'd be interested in buying it. And I was open, minded in a way that I wanted to buy it. However, I've retracted that statement, having unlocked my Steam Deck and installed Windows 10 on it, which upgraded to Windows 11. I was so excited and giddy. I think I'll be better served if I bought myself a Rogue Ally X, which is a traditional native Windows handheld. Don't you agree? I'm sure you agree. But in this whole conversation, we've seen the very first game of which its frames have been counted. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. They did on Digital Foundry a comparison of the performance mode and the performance RT mode. Now, I could play some pieces of the video, but actually I'm not really interested in doing that. However, some of the comments are very interesting, and I've also gone ahead to, in a sense, note some of them down. Like this one said, let's pretend there's no 40 FPS fidelity mode on the base PS5. This comment says, more and more clear, I'll stick with my base PS5 and save the 800 euros for the upcoming PS6 or other stuff. Someone said, I say this as someone who's pre-ordered a PS5 Pro and is generally in favor of it. This is the most disappointing showing so far. I originally played this game in 40 FPS mode, which is essentially the fidelity mode, settings at 40 FPS, albeit a lower resolution, obviously. I thought it looked fantastic. I find it really hard to fathom that the Pro couldn't have taken this mode and gotten it up to 60 FPS using PSSR, even keeping whatever base resolution it was using. Would have liked to see a comparison with this mode. It's quite disappointing that the Pro mode we get has lower graphics settings than the fidelity mode on the PS5 for crown density, exactly. And he says, Oliver, who's the Digital Foundry guy that did this review or comparison, seems a little too forgiving in this video. Let's keep going. Pay $800 to play performance RT upscaled with PSSR. Turns out playing with fidelity mode, graphics at 60 FPS was a lie. Well, I wouldn't say it was a lie. They're different games. They're different scenarios. And that's one thing I must also caveat. Ratchet and Clank may just not have been the best showing. There's probably going to be the game that will take the enhanced mode and may do more with it. Who knows? This user says, does it look better? Yes. Does it worth $300 more so you can see the plant's leaves on the background with the little less jagged edges that you have to zoom in X3 to even notice? Absolutely blanking big letters N-O. This other person says requiring 3x or 4x zoom to notice the sometimes quite subtle differences really isn't selling this to me at all. I'm not convinced I will notice a meaningful difference when sat on a couch playing with binoculars. Ladies and gentlemen, more and more, I think as the frames are getting counted, more and more people are not being convinced. And this is exactly what I said in the past. Some people were talking and I said, isn't it interesting that they brought out this particular console and all they did was just provide you two images and say, look at this and look at this one is sharp. But they never really gave you much metrics to go by, which hardware and software interaction in terms of video games and platforms is a data task in itself. You got to be able to punch out what resolution, what frame rate you're getting based on different settings to be able to realize if you're getting an improvement here or if you're getting a bottleneck here. All of these things all go into play. So consoles and, Jim Ryan and all the folk that have basically put out these new themes to go with marketing consoles to be providing these PC experiences to console players, I think they've done, console players a disservice, and they've basically done the entire console industry a disservice as well. Nintendo is laughing somewhere in a corner going, we haven't set any unrealistic expectations about performance, so we don't have to actually abide by it, nor do our own audience have to actually abide or expect it. Because I've also made some comparisons with Nintendo and people yelled at me and said, you can't expect Nintendo to give you, consistent 30 FPS. That's low powered hardware. This was in Zelda Breath of the, Tears of the Kingdom. I still have the video. You can see the comments on there. People literally defended 27, 26 FPS for Tears of the Kingdom because it was Nintendo. So again, this new standard that is now being set with this new generation of console has literally exposed the console game in a very bad way. Because to be honest, I have to also be honest with you, PlayStation and Xbox themselves, they did give their caveats in small print on the box. I mean, as much as I consider it as, the most deceitful or slash, mildly leading marketing scheme, they can still go and give you a mea culpa. What the problem is the hyper PlayStation fanboys that overhyped what, engineer Mark Cerny actually put out. The man put out the numbers and said up to 45% in these areas. However, every video game is going to show you what it's made of. So up to 45% in terms of graphical, improvement and using upscaling may not be suitable for many games or some games. So as the frames continue to get counted, what you're going to see is more and more people are going to keep expressing their discontent. This feels more like a graphical patch versus a new $1,000 system. Some people done paid $999 for the collector's edition of this game, and they justified it, and some justified it. Okay, it's your money, do as you will. Someone said, I'll be sticking to my base PS5 model. I like the design. The fact that my disk drive is included and the graphics looks perfectly fine. This person said, I think the Performance RT mode looks better than the Performance Pro mode. Now, that's their opinion, because again, like I said, some people are just not noticing the difference. Woo! Somebody said, so the PS5 Pro still has different modes we have to choose from with pros and cons? What's the point? Thought this was supposed to make it so we didn't have to choose. Well, you read that wrong. Mr. Cerny, I don't think he said that. I think what he said was they were trying to bring, you know what? Go watch the video again. It's your job. Goodness gracious. Wow. 80%. This person said when 80% of this video is in 3x zoom, you know the difference is slim, even on a large TV. Someone said, sounds like he's trying to keep himself convinced in this video. That was not good. Someone said, I grew up with a Commodore 64. Comparisons like this, while fun and educational, also show me how spoiled we've become. Okay. The Pro would make sense to me if it can run Space Marine 2 in quality mode at a rock solid 60 FPS. It probably could. If the CPU is clocked a little higher, we probably could see that. Another person said, screw these pointless enhancements and remasters. We need more games. At the end of the day, this has been a distraction more than anything else. What games are going to be coming from the PlayStation first-party studios to actually leverage this new hardware that they've basically gotten their hands on? So far, we're not seeing a lot of games. What we're seeing is games from the past. Games that were supposed to highlight the power of the PlayStation 5 base model, Ratchet and Clank. Or games that were actually made in the PS4 era, like The Last of Us Part 2. And even what games are they talking about? None of the live service games. We're not seeing Helldivers do comparisons on there. And so there's a lot that's still left to be desired in bringing a hardware piece like this. So I'm really, really interested in seeing how a lot of these folk basically, start talking now. Because, again, the frames are being counted. And once the frames start getting counted and the numbers go out, man, you're going to see people coming back to collect their receipts. One example is the Turks, the YouTuber who made that very, very detailed video that I told you all about and said, guys, you made somebody who is literally an FPS accountant go out there and make a video on y'all's behalf. This video was made. He made this video about 10, 11 days ago. And the video has already started to age like fine wine, because he did tell you in this video that he actually told them at Digital Foundry, asked them to basically go ahead and count the frames for him. And he was able to get the data that he needed in order to be able to compare, to see that if you follow Mark Cerny's up to 45%, here is what you're going to find. So he's going to go withdraw from those hyper fans that actually pushed him to make this video, because most of them, they are not so used to this level of scrutiny. And I think a lesson is about to be learned here. I'm only watching from the sidelines. So if you want to hop on the train with the hyper fanboys, or if you want to actually, wait and see if this is a right device for you rather than try to preliminarily, start running defense for it, it's your choice. Thanks for watching the video. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Peace out.